Netflix is purchasing Warner Brothers. Superman is in an all-out brawl versus Captain Atom. The X-Men are coming to the MCU, and more. Welcome to Comic Book News, December 8th, 2025. Let's just jump right into it. Okay, let's talk about Netflix purchasing Warner Brothers. What does this mean for the future of Netflix and HBO and all the important IP that Warner Brothers owns? First of all, the purchase is for $82.7 billion, which is insane, by the way. That has to be one of the biggest media company buyouts ever, right? And the purchase does include its film and television studios, HBO Max, and HBO. So there's some important stuff coming out of this. Now, the thing that matters to me the most is what's going to happen to the DCU that we are just setting up with James Gunn. And a lot of people are talking about a return of the Snyderverse. First, I'll say this. They did say that HBO Max will continue as its own separate service, and there won't be a price change, at least for now, in the streaming services, which I think is, that's great for everybody to hear. All the streaming services have been getting more and more expensive lately, and they've been putting in ads and all this stuff. So it's good that we're maintaining the status quo there for sure. Let me read this from the article. At the same time, the streamer also addressed one of the biggest questions everyone had. What is changing? Considering Netflix used to have the monopoly over streaming, its purchase of one of the biggest industry giants has raised a lot of questions. Per Netflix, nothing is changing today. So we'll see what happens in the future, but there is some good news in terms of the James Gunn DC universe, okay? If you are a fan of that, it is going forward. So as of now, there are no changes in the works for James Gunn's DCU. In fact, Gunn and Safran have actually signed contract extensions that keeps them in their current situations with their existing timeline of projects into the foreseeable future. So what does this mean for the Snyderverse? I don't think it's coming back, honestly. And I'm okay with that. Now, I know a lot of people want it to come back. In my opinion, if it does have to come back, I would like it to be completely separate from and not interrupt anything going on with James Gunn's DCU. There were some great things about the Snyderverse. I actually liked Batman vs. Superman. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought it was pretty cool. But the problem is, I don't think a lot of the actors are going to want to reprise those roles. I know Gal Gadot has been a little bit criticized for her performance as Wonder Woman, so I don't know if she'd want to step back into it. But definitely Ben Affleck. I mean, Ben Affleck, I think, didn't even want to come back as Batman for the Flash movie. So I just don't see them being able to get him back. And with the other actors, I'm not sure. I just think that it's going to be tough to get the Justice League reassembled to do something in the Snyderverse if they really want to do it. And then what happens? They have two DC universes running side by side. It just doesn't make sense to me. Also, I think Netflix is already working with Zack Snyder on other projects, so I just don't see him dropping those things to go and do another, Snyderverse thing. But yeah, let me know what you think about the Netflix Warner Brothers buyout. Do you want the Snyderverse to come back? Do you care if it comes back? What are your thoughts on the fact that they aren't changing anything for the James Gunn DCU? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, next, let's talk about Superman versus Captain Atom. Superman is fighting one of DC Universe's most powerful heroes, and he's losing. So I'm going to do this without giving any spoilers. It's going to be hard because this is a really great issue. But if you haven't read it, you have to read Superman versus Captain Atom. This is the brawl between these two for this round of DCKO. As we know, we have a bracket with all the heroes who are still left, and these two got matched up. By the way, this cover was done by Jorge Corona, who I absolutely love. This cover looks absolutely crazy, and I think it's perfect to describe the fight between these two because it is absolutely brutal. On top of that, the writers do some really interesting stuff here that kind of plays on your nostalgia for these characters. And because of the fact that the Heart of Apocalypse is so powerful and it's basically able to warp reality, it can bring things into this fight between these two characters that we thought we would never see again for these two characters. Stuff from their past, gets brought to the forefront here. And I think it's cleverly written. It was written by Joshua Williamson, which I think he's a really great writer, a modern comic book writer. This has huge implications for Captain Atom. There are cosmic level events happening in this comic book. And again, this is another part of the clever writing. I think they really captured the essence of Superman, how he would be even if he had to fight a fellow hero to the end. And you know what I mean by the end. I just don't want to say it. To be unalived. And obviously Superman's already kind of mad at Captain Atom for what he did to Supergirl in DCKO 1. And like I said, I'm going to do this without spoilers, so really nothing you're seeing here is spoilers so far. All I can say is that this fight is absolutely epic, and if this is going to be the caliber of these DCKO 1v1 issues, I'm so excited to see what the other ones are going to be like, especially if they do this thing that they did in this issue where, like I said, because of the Heart of Apocalypse being able to warp reality, bringing in things from the character's past. If they do that with the other ones, it'll be absolutely great to see the directions that they go. The last thing I'll say is this: if you haven't read this issue, comment down below who you think is winning this fight. So this isn't a spoiler because I'm gonna tell you what I thought before I read this issue. Before I read this issue, I made the prediction that Superman was going to win. Now, I'm not telling you whether or not he does win, but you'll have to read this to see what happens. And again, let me know who you think is winning this fight. All right, next let's talk about the new Guardians of the Galaxy, or should I say the Imperial Guardians. Look at this lineup. We've got Amadeus Cho Hulk, Gamora, the Cosmic Ghost Rider, Darkhawk, and I believe this is Captain Marvel. That is a crazy lineup, especially having the Cosmic Ghost Rider in here. I mean, he is so powerful. It almost seems like an overpowered team, and it's kind of crazy that this character is even on a team in the first place. In addition, we see another cover here that shows Amadeus Cho in a Hulkbuster armor, which is absolutely crazy. It kind of reminds me of Mark Ruffalo in the Hulkbuster armor in Infinity War, which was disappointing because I wanted to see the Hulk there, but also it was very funny. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here with Amadeus Cho in the Hulkbuster armor. I'm not 100% up to date on what's currently going on with that character. Can he still turn into the Hulk, or is this his alternative since he is not the Hulk anymore? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, this is an absolutely amazing team. And I also want to touch on the fact that writer Dan Abnett is coming back to the series. So Dan Abnett was the writer who brought together the Guardians of the Galaxy that we know from the MCU. The Guardians of the Galaxy existed before Dan Abnett came along, but it was a completely different team and the book was very different. And this is a much older comic. Dan Abnett is the one who took Rocket Raccoon, Drax, Gamora, Star-Lord, etc., Mantis, goes on and on. The team has had, some shifts and change over the years, but that's, the core team. Groot, of course, Groot. He's the one who took those characters and brought them together to make the Guardians of the Galaxy that we know today, the one that's popular that was in the MCU. So the fact that he's returning here is amazing. He's also a very well-known writer in the world of Warhammer 40K, which I just started getting into. I'm currently reading the Eisenhorn books by Dan Abnett, and I also bought some of the Horus Heresy books to start off with those. So it just so happens that I'm also getting into the Warhammer 40K universe as well right now. And when I saw that Dan Abnett was returning to do Guardians of the Galaxy, or better yet, Imperial Guardians, I was super excited about that. If you haven't read his original Guardians of the Galaxy run, I do actually recommend it. I know it has somewhat mixed reviews, but I think overall the reviews for this run are good. It's a really cool run. I also recommend reading this, but as I said, I think this run of Imperial Guardians is going to be really, really cool. I think the writer that they brought on to do this is going to do an amazing job. I think this collection of characters is so interesting and has a lot of potential. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on this new iteration of Guardians of the Galaxy, the Imperial Guardians. Are you going to be reading this book? I'll be honest, I definitely am. Let me know in the comments down below. All right, next let's talk about the X-Men who are possibly coming to the MCU in the fallout of the events of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So this article says the 10 X-Men who should join the MCU first, right? So I have some opinions on this. Let's go through this list. Okay, Rogue. It says here that Rogue could start off as a villain, which is absolutely true. She was a villain in her first appearance in the X-Men. She was working with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, who were a team of villains that were prominent at the beginning of the X-Men by Chris Claremont. And then she would permanently steal the powers of Captain Marvel, which is what gives her her innate ability to fly and her super strength. And then eventually, of course, the story progresses and she becomes one of the X-Men. So it would be great if we got a real comics accurate Rogue in the MCU going forward. Okay, Kitty Pryde, my favorite X-Men. I know that's a weird one to be your favorite X-Men, but I think her powers are so cool. I really love the character. I loved, her coming into the X-Men early on and being part of the New Mutants. And I even love Lockheed, her, little dragon pal that was actually belonging to Magic, who came from, Limbo with the dragon. And then, for some reason, it just became best friends with Kitty Pryde. I think they did some really cool stuff with Kitty Pryde in the Marauders series when X-Men were doing Krakoa. And yeah, I would love to see the return of this character. Okay. Okay, Polaris. Yes, Polaris would be awesome. I mean, Polaris is the daughter of Magneto and shares Magneto's powers. I think Polaris would be a really cool addition to the MCU, especially because we may not get Ian McKellen playing Magneto in the future after this. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to agree to come back to that role. So to have another person with his powers that could come in and take in, fill that void, it'll be hard because Ian McKellen is an absolutely amazing Magneto, but I think this could be great. And we don't really have Wanda and Quicksilver in the MCU as mutants or as Magneto's children. So now we would get a proper child of Magneto in the MCU. So yeah, I think it would be absolutely great to have Polaris come into the MCU. Storm, need I say more? Storm is amazing. Halle Berry did a great job playing her. We'll see who plays her in the future of the MCU, but one of my favorite X-Men, maybe my second favorite X-Men overall. It's hard to say, but Storm is in my top 3 probably for X-Men. Iceman was definitely underused. He is a Omega level mutant. Okay. He's way more powerful than he was shown to be in the Fox movies. So I think Iceman coming back and being just a powerhouse would be so awesome to see. So let's bring him back and let's do Iceman right for sure. Of course, we're going to need a Beast. We're going to need Beast. That goes without saying. Beast is an awesome character that is kind of a plot device for the X-Men because of his brains. So you got to have Beast. Okay. And then here's a big one, Cyclops. Cyclops is the leader of the X-Men. He is the one that brings the team together. He's the tactical mind behind their plans. He's the one willing to sacrifice himself for the rest of the team. So we're going to need Cyclops. Okay, next, let's quickly talk about the comic books that are coming out this week on December 10th, 2025. Here's the big one right now. Absolute Batman number 15 with the Absolute Joker cover. This one is going to sell out so quick. Make sure that your comic book store reserves one of these for you, or that you get to the store early to get one of these issues because, like I said, it's going to sell out. I'm super excited for this. The look of the Joker is crazy. The lead up to this has been insane. Absolute Batman is probably the best comic of the year. So again, I can't hype this comic up enough. We've got Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate Wolverine. Again, I'm still not reading the Ultimate titles, but let me know if you are, because maybe I should go back and get caught up and jump into this, but I just haven't felt the draw to get into it. So let me know if I'm wrong there. And then we've got Transformers still going strong. Another comic that could potentially be up for, comic of the year's Transformers. I mean, people rave about Transformers, and I'm not completely caught up right now, but I have most of the issues, so I'm getting caught up in it right now. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So I'm so happy with how Daniel Warren Johnson has been doing with the Transformers. I think he's doing an absolutely amazing job. We've got Amazing Spider-Man. We've got Action Comics. Notice of Closure. I don't know what's going on there. We've got more Ultimate Universe comics with Black Panther. Batman and Robin with a really interesting cover. I almost want to get this book just for the cover. Aquaman vs. Hawkman. That's another one in this next round of KO 1v1s. So Captain Atom and Superman was amazing. This seems like a little bit more of a lackluster matchup to me, but if they make the right moves with this, like they did in the Captain Atom and Superman comic, this is going to be really good. So I am going to pick this up and read it, and we'll see. Ninja Turtles is awesome. I'm getting caught up. I'm still reading the IDW, like the original run, and I've read some of Jason Aaron's run, but this is, a new era. I did a video about this in my last comic book news with the new writer who's a 2-time Eisner Award winner coming to the book, taking over for Jason Aaron. The art is great. The writer's great. Ninja Turtles has been really strong. Don't sleep on Ninja Turtles. This is a great book. Wonder Woman versus Lobo. Now there is a matchup, man. This is another Jorge Corona cover where he absolutely kills it. And this matchup is going to be insane. If you thought Superman and Captain Atom was good, this is going to be better, I think. And especially with the Heart of Apocalypse warping reality, who knows what we're going to get in this amazing 1v1. This is another one that's going to fly off the shelves. So I would definitely get your hands on this if you can. Geiger continuing. Geiger is a great series. My comic book club just did a book club on the first 6 issues. And I mean, it's Jeff Johns. Come on. So many good comics coming out this week, by the way. We've got Spider-Man and Wolverine. We've got a new Infernal Hulk coming out, Infernal Hulk number 2, continuing that series. Supergirl. We've got the Green Lantern Corps, Unbreakable X-Men, New Avengers, The Punisher. This cover looks really amazing. Nova Centurion. I really like Nova as a character. I actually think I want to read this. So I got to remember to pick this issue up. Yeah, I am going to pick that up because Nova is dope, by the way. If you don't sleep on Nova either. And then we've got some other stuff here, Iron and Frost. I'm not sure what that is. Let me know in the comments what's going on there. All new Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider. Let me know if you're reading that one. Oh, Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice. This is a little further down the list, but I'm super happy about this one. It's a steampunk Batman, basically, and Justice League that takes place in like the 1800s or early 1900s, I think it is. Or yeah, no, I think it's the late 1800s. And it's just so cool to see this steampunk version of the team. I am reading this, and wow, there's just so many good comic books coming out this week, because this is definitely another one that I think not. I don't know how many people are reading this, but you should read this. It's a really cool and well-written comic based on the original Gotham by Gaslight comic that came out a while ago. Now let's check out the omnibuses that are coming out this week. All right, we've got X-Men by Jerry Dugan. We've got the Doom Patrol by Keith Giffen. We've got Marvel Team Up #1. That's pretty cool. Some more Conan Omnis, as always, because I guess Marvel has to meet their Conan omnibus quota. We've got The Fable and The Cape. I'm not really sure what those are, but let me know if those are, interesting books that I should pick up. And we've got some other stuff here, but I think, the big highlights from this are Marvel Team Up and Doom Patrol and the X-Men by Jerry Dugan. All right, that's it for this episode of Comic Book News, December 8th, 2025. Let me know if there's anything that I missed in this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the different stories that I talked about in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.